Hello, welcome to Cherrywood Live on Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central Time. I am Carla Overland. Welcome to our little show here. We are back on track for every Thursday night, coming to you in your sewing room or bedroom or living room or wherever you're hanging out tonight. So thank you for joining me. This is episode 108, and tonight we're going to be talking about appliqué. And also, I'm talking a lot about September. I know September is almost over, but September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And I have been involved with a quilt project for several years with the MD Anderson Research Center down in Houston, Texas. So I'm going to be chatting with my friend Lisa there. And as far as the appliqué, it kind of goes hand in hand because one of the artists that is involved with this quilt auction is Margaret Willingham. And she is a designer from Eye of the Beholder. And we are going to be having a little chat with her tonight as well. So lots to show you. Hopefully you learned something tonight that you didn't know about. We have some stuff on sale tonight through Sunday, Thursday night. These sales end on Sunday at midnight. I've got a couple of kits, appliqué kits, that are 20% off. And since teal is the color of ovarian cancer, just like pink is for breast cancer awareness, teal is for ovarian cancer awareness. So starting tonight until Sunday, all of our teal yardage is 20% off, and that includes our teal medley bundles. So I am holding a gorgeous 4-step gradation, dark teal to light teal, and these are the yard pieces. So these are 4 yard pieces. It also comes in half yard pieces and fat quarter pieces, and they will be 20% off starting tonight. So let us start out with my chat with Margaret. I've known her for a while, and I have a couple of her patterns here that we have been, she does a hand applique and machine applique, and she loves Cherrywood, and she is going to tell you why. So enjoy this little video. How are you doing, Margaret?
I'm great.
It's been so long since I've seen you.
I know, I miss you.
And I was thinking this is kind of nice because we are both vendors, so we never really have time to talk because it's always like passing in the booth or on the way out of the booth. And yeah, it's nice to chat with you.
It is.
So tell us a little bit about you, where you are, and what your company is all about.
Well, I live in Milliken, Colorado, although I was born and raised on the East Coast, and I always grew up in old homes, which is where a lot of the inspiration for my patterns has come from. And you'll see that, you know, like the piece behind me here, Remembrance, that is one that is very typical of a lot of my patterns, inspired by architecture of the Victorian era. Until I moved to Colorado, the youngest home I had lived in was built in 1865.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so very much old homes, and I gutted some homes and renovated them. So I love that old architecture and the attention to detail. And the functional beauty that was in the Victorian architecture. So that's where a lot of my inspiration came from, was all that beautiful architecture. But now I live in Colorado, and I've been out here since 2003. And Colorado has its own beauty, the gorgeous mountains, and I'm about 45 minutes to an hour to the Rocky Mountains, getting up into Estes Park. And Estes Park is a beautiful, beautiful place. There's an austere beauty in the majesty of the mountains out there. And when you can get up and hike the mountains and the beautiful lakes once you get up there. Now, I'm down in the plains area in the foothills, and it's kind of dry and arid. If we don't water, we don't have green. But my husband and I have gardens in the backyard, and that's lovely. So, you know, and I love flowers, and I love tending to the gardens. And so flowers and the beautiful colors of the flowers is also another inspiration. So the nature and God's gratuitous beauty that he's dotted the world with, that's another source of inspiration for my patterns. So, and I love doing handwork. I know some people think handwork is a 4-letter word, but it is not to me. I find sitting and stitching by hand is kind of peace for my soul. And so no matter what I'm doing, I need to sit and stitch every night. And I end up doing it for several hours every evening. If I'm on deadline, it's more than several hours. So typically I'm doing 2 to 6 hours of hand stitching at night. And that's how I'm getting things done. I love to hand quilt, although I have to confess, I haven't done hand quilting for probably 2 years now. Just things have gotten busier with the business, and I've got to get them done. And I'm doing much more machine quilting now. But
I'm willing to bet that a lot more people are picking up handwork
during
the pandemic because it's stress relieving, and they may find themselves with more time.
They have more time, and actually I've even seen where in the last 8 to 10 years, even people who 10 years ago said, oh, I just don't have time for handwork, as they're starting to discover that there is a place to always have a hand project, because they realize how transportable it is.
Right.
They can sit while their kids are at a soccer game, and they can sit and they can hand stitch. And I will say the English paper piecing movement has really helped to give a rebirth to doing handwork. And so then doing, whether it's hand applique or hand reverse applique, which is really what my love is the hand reverse applique, that has burgeoned again, and it's starting to grow and grow. And hand reverse applique, which is really my love. So you're creating the design by cutting away the top fabric and revealing the design in the background fabric peeking out. That was even scarier for a lot of people because the traditional method was very hard. But I developed a method that makes it much easier to do. And our patterns always give step-by-step directions how to do it. So it's not like you have to figure this out. And I'm very pleased that customers really have said that when they read the pattern, they can figure it out. So they've, and I'm very pleased with that. I try very hard to write a good pattern so people can figure it out. Plus we have lots of tutorials and informational blogs on the website to help you through that with pictures, because we're such visual creatures as quilters. So I'd sewed from the time I was 10. And, you know, that's actually the same time that I started dancing, was when I was 10. And I used to sew everything I wore, and then I sewed the costumes for my dance. I had a dance company in the 80s, and I sewed the costumes for the dance company. So I was always doing that. I made my first quilt at 18. Now it no longer exists because I didn't really know what I was doing. But, but you know, I learned, and I did a lot of trial and error. I started quilting in earnest, not as a business, but as pleasure, about 30 years ago. And I learned as part of a quilting group. And I just kind of picked up tidbits here and there, but really, you know, because I'd sewed for so long, the two biggest differences is your seam allowance. In clothing, it's 5/8 inch. In quilts, it's 1/4 inch. And in sewing, you're ironing your seams flat. And in quilting, you're ironing your seams in one direction most of the time. You know, those are the two biggest differences. But curved piecing is not a challenge because that's a set-in sleeve.
Yeah.
You know, sewing on a binding or doing the hand reverse applique or hand applique, that's hemming a skirt.
Oh,
You
yeah, I
know,
never thought of it that way.
you know, it's no different. It's the same thing. And so it's just, you know, our needles are a little bit different. So the needle that I use for the basting phase of my process is what we use as a basic hand sewing needle, a number 7 sharp needle. But now that's considered a big needle in quilting. So what I use for the hand reverse applique is a number 11 milliner's needle. We like a nice fine needle, and it's much easier to just pick up a thread or two than using a number 7 sharp needle. But if you're doing a wool skirt or a corduroy skirt, a thicker needle is easier to pick up the threads of your fibers when you're doing different materials, you know, that kind of thing. So there are some of those differences with it. So, you know, that it's just different backgrounds that come with it. So, you know, I picked up the quilting stuff along the way, just tidbits here and tidbits there. But I never took a workshop, you know, so I'm all self-taught.
All self-taught, and now you're teaching others.
I am. It's fun. I think it's a blast. I'm still playing. I still mostly just consider myself a quilter, you know, you know, so it's like, I don't know, I'm just having fun doing it. And I think it's kind of a no-brainer in some ways. And so if I can help someone else feel comfortable and gain confidence, that just thrills me no end. And all the years that I taught dance, I kept wanting to help that student. I waited till that light bulb went off.
Yeah.
You know, I kept coming at it another way and another way. And when that light bulb went off, then I was satisfied. And I wanted to get to the underlying technique of something so then they could do any step at all. So I never taught steps as a dance teacher. I taught technique. And that's kind of how I approach quilting. It's like, if you get the underlying technique things, then you can approach any pattern. You know?
Yep. You're teaching at a national quilt level.
Yes. Yep.
Quilt clubs, I'm sure you travel to.
Yep, I travel to quilt clubs. I'll be teaching at the Black Hills Quilt Guild, Quilters Guild retreat in South Dakota in October. I'm slated to teach at Appliqué away in Galveston Bay in February, and I'll be going to East Cobb Quilters Guild in Marietta, Georgia in March. And I just signed a contract to teach at Kansas City Regional Quilt Festival in June. So that's what's coming up all in kind of 2021 and through this fall. So, you know, I'll go wherever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, wherever, if it's real or virtual or however it works.
Yep. You know, we're figuring out the virtual stuff, you know, it's all, you know, I'm a hands-on real person, you know, so learning virtual is the stretch for me, but I'm doing it. I'm trying to figure it out and doing it. So.
Yeah. So tell us what your website is and how to contact you if people want to look at it.
The website is www.eobquiltdesign.com. And the business is I, the Beholder Quilt Design, and all of our products are up for sale in both print form and digital PDF. And right now we're having kind of a little table runner sale going on because I just released a blog playing with some cool fabrics, and I then try and feature something that's for sale right then. But everything's there, and tons of technique tutorials and blogs to kind of help you along your way. You just got to kind of poke around and see what hits you.
And it's really fascinating when you're talking about needles and thread count and grabbing, and you know, that's your thing. You're looking at the weave of the fabric, which is kind of a nice transition into Cherrywood.
Yes.
Why do you like Cherrywood?
Oh, I love Cherrywood. I love the color. It's so vibrant and rich. And it just, sometimes when I look at some of the deeper tones, it just kind of feels like I'm looking at velvet. I know it's not velvet, but that's what it feels like to me. And I love fibers and rich tones. I'm a jewel tone person, if you can't tell by all what I'm wearing here. And the suede look of it, as I say, it kind of looks like velvet to me. And it's a wonderful, nice, tight weave, yet when I'm needling, the needle goes through like butter. So it's a nice contrast to it. So it doesn't fray. You know, I like tight weave fabric, so I often work a lot with batiks, but I also love unique and different fabrics. So I'll play with silk, and I'll play with Japanese textiles, and I'll play with all sorts of things that just capture my fancy. And so Cherrywood is some of those that captured my fancy. I just have to play with something different every once in a while. And so behind me is hospitality, behind Carla is hospitality. So yeah, we've got lots of versions floating around. And so Carla has, I'm sorry, what?
You did make both of these quilts, which was very wonderful to have you do it.
Carla's version was made by machine, using a satin stitch on it. My version is made by hand. And then I've got one more version to make by machine, which is also going to be for Carla Piper. So I had two Carlas in my life. I still have two Carlas in my life.
You can never have too many Carlas in your
life. And because Carla Piper designed a jewelry design with the pineapple pictorial block, the crown pineapple block, and the friendship pineapple, which is the paper piece block in it. So she has jewelry designs that go with it. So it was a three-way collaboration between all of us. So, and when I was in the process of designing, I was wandering around trying to figure out what fabrics, and I was at the AQS Lancaster show teaching, and I wandered, I'm gonna get confused. Carla Overland was not there, but someone was selling her fabrics, and I saw some of the beautiful Meadow Collection fabrics, and oh my God, and the berry fabric, and it just hit me. Those were the perfect fabrics, the perfect colors for this quilt that I was dreaming about. And I came home, I bought some of them off this lady's table. I wish I could remember the vendor's name. I'm sorry I don't. And I came home and I started playing with them. And I went on EQ8 where I'd been designing. And I didn't have the exact SKUs, but I was just kind of trying to match colors, and I came up and I started playing. And then I emailed Carla at Cherrywood and I said, okay, are you interested in this collaboration? This is what we got going on. And I designed the quilt in these EQ8 colors, because this berry color, oh my God, it's to die for. It's just absolutely to die for. And the contrast with the yellow, and it's just, oh, I fell in love with it. And it was so beautiful to work with, so supple, and it just came alive. And you know, you're designing these quilts. So the design process started for me with Carla Piper in 2018 when we started talking about it. We brought Carla Overland into it in 2019. And then the quilt was being made in the beginnings of 2020 before COVID-19 hit. But I want you to realize that the meaning of the pineapple block is welcome and hospitality. And look at where we are. We're all sequestered away from one another, but what message do we need more than anything but to be in community and in relationship with one another, and to open our hearts and our minds to one another? And that's what this quilt is. So if nothing else, it's a message of hope that we're going to have community and relationship and hospitality for one another yet again, you know. And how do we keep that going when we're not with one another? And look at all the houses going around. We have a church and a school and houses going all the way around, and keeping community. And social media, which prior to this time, social media was something that separated us from one another. People would be on their phones instead of sitting at a table, but you know, typing on their phones away from each other. Well, now social media can be a means to bring you together, like we're doing now with Zoom. You know, so we've learned how to perhaps let social media bring us together instead of to drive us apart. And so this quilt is exactly a message for a time such as this right now. And these gorgeous, vibrant colors, how can you not have a sense of hope and joy when you look at this beautiful quilt and all these colors? Right. Carla died for us to play with, you know?
Well, the design is, like you very eloquently said, that it's very calming, and it embraces you. Those houses are hugging the inside of the quilt. And yeah, it's really interesting how it fits so well. I mean, you never could have known
No,
that.
but God did.
Right.
You know, and I have a belief in God. You don't have to have a belief in God, but I do. You know, and he knew that we were going to need this message of hope.
Yeah.
And this message of community and this message of hospitality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the pineapple block is, I've seen, or maybe I'm just paying attention more, but I'm seeing more and more pineapple things out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love how the correlation between the pineapple foundation block and the applique. So this is a wonderful quilt because it's different methods. So it can be kind of, I tell people it's like a teaching quilt because you're teaching them foundation piecing, you're teaching them regular applique, reverse applique, and also you have instructions for machine or hand, correct?
Yep. So you can do both, one or both. Yep. You know, some people consider their machine and that's calming and peaceful for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not someone that's sitting at my machine, watching my needle go back and forth in the satin stitch, that's calming for me.
Mm-hmm.
But by hand it is.
Yeah.
And other people sitting at the machine doing the satin stitch, that's calming for them. And so I have to be careful sometimes because I don't want to step on their toes. That is their peace and their sanity. They need to go run away from their families to get the sanity. I can sit with my family in the family room and stitch at night.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so it's just, we all have our different things. So yeah, that's their peace. And
so all of your patterns, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of your patterns, you give them the choice of hand or machine.
If it can be made by hand or machine, you get both sets of directions in it. And about 90% of my patterns can be done by hand or machine.
Well, I should mention that Cherrywood has fabric kits for this project. So people can order the pattern from Margaret on her website, and then you can order the fabric kit from cherrywoodfabrics.com. And I'm going to go grab a kit because people like
awesome.
A pack of fabric.
Awesome. Well, while she's grabbing a kit, Carla always donates fabric for the Ovarian Cancer Quilt Project, which is every 2 years. And I have started doing that 2 years ago. And this is my centerpiece right now, which is all Cherrywood fabrics. I started with my remembrance pattern, and I turned it into an applique version instead of doing it as reverse applique, so I could use all of her beautiful fabrics in the pack. And now I have to put the borders on. I'm still designing. Of course, I'm designing as I'm making, so I've got to go figure it out, and I've got to get it done in the next week and a half so I can ship it in time. So I like creating and doing something, but I also have, I had one friend who actually ultimately lost her battle to ovarian cancer, but I've lost about 8 friends to cancer, different forms, and I've also known about 6 people who have survived. So I have a high number of people I've known who have had to battle cancer. And my mom actually, once COVID-19 was shutting down the world, she went through her second bout with cancer and went through a mastectomy. She is doing fine. She's 92 years old, on her way to her 93rd birthday, and go figure that a 93-year-old woman has to go through this at her age. But she's doing great, which thank you God. So I love that Carla donates to this cause and that I get to participate in this every 2 years, and the Ovarian Cancer Society auctions these off, and all the money goes to support research for ovarian cancer. So it's a great thing to be able to participate in, and I just play with the sizing of my patterns and come up with something that works for this. So I just did another little plug while you were getting the kit.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very proud to be part of the, small part of their online auction, because they get quilts from all over the place. But I always donate around 2 dozen bundles of fabric, and then they handpick artists like Margaret to make quilts. And I believe the last quilt auction 2 years ago raised over $52,000 for ovarian and related cancers that they study at MD Anderson in Houston. So
yes, it's awesome. It's an awesome thing.
Yeah, every time I talk about it, I get goosebumps.
I know, me too.
Yeah. And did you mention that the pillow or quilt behind you, and that's the same
Nope, not
pattern?
yet. Nope, nope. So this quilt over in the corner is Remembrance. That's the actual full-size version of Remembrance that I'm doing, the small-scale version of this for the Ovarian Cancer Project. So that's the original, that's 36 inches, and I pulled that one out because the top fabric is a cherrywood fabric that I use. The underneath background fabric, now I did that one as reverse applique, and I did that one by hand, and it's hand quilted. The background fabric is a hand marble by a person out of Vermont named Paula Lavender. Again, I love doing interesting fabrics, and often when I have an interesting fabric, I find cherrywood fabric is the perfect thing to go with it. So that's the other reason that I love cherrywood fabrics. And then this is a pillow or iris pattern. And if you notice, this background fabric is cherrywood, and this is another interesting, unique fabric. It's a hand marble. I don't remember the marbler's name, but I got this in Portland, Oregon, when I was at a show there. Oh my gosh, must be 6 years ago, when I did the Coming Up Roses show. It was a Quilts Inc. show when they were in Portland.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was, what, 6 years ago, Carla? Were you at that one?
Probably. I wasn't there, but it's,
okay.
Yeah, time flies.
They did it 2 years out there, and I think I got it the first year I was out there. So I'm always on the lookout for unique, different fabrics. It just floats my boat, and it inspires me to play and create and see my designs. And I did the iris pattern, our iris pattern. This is flower number 9. We have 9 different flower designs, and I do a stencil style in our flower designs. And so, and it's cherrywood in the background. And this one I did by machine and turned it into a pillow. And there's another cherrywood on the back.
Yay. Yeah, and imagine if you would have put a printed fabric that would fight against that marbled fabric. So,
I know, you want to make the fabric show, you know?
Right.
It's so gorgeous,
solid,
you know?
But it's not just any solid. It
right.
draws you into the design of the flower.
Right. Yes. And some of the boutiques were just too, they weren't right. You know, they were the wrong color value, they were the wrong texture. You know, the marble had, I don't know, it's just, I can't describe it, but it was, the cherrywood was the perfect thing.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
You know. You
do. It hits your gut.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure that's how you felt when you were putting all these colors
together.
Oh my
God, I still love it. Look at that palette. Look at that palette when it just sits there. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just sitting here and it's still gorgeous.
I know.
We put, well, I'll show a better picture, but Margaret picked all these colors, and we made sure that we could make a kit specifically so it would be just like the quilt you see here. And yeah,
it's just so beautiful.
Nice big bundle of fabric.
Oh, I love that berry fabric. Oh my God.
Yeah. This is actually a color from the kiwi berry. There's 2 different steps from kiwi berry. So this is a combination of a few collections, which also makes the kit unique because you know, we only can make so many, and we can dye as we go, but yeah, it's a special collection just for hospitality.
Yeah, what I combined the kiwi berry and the meadow collection, right?
And some zest.
And some zest, yeah.
Get the orange.
Yeah, sometimes I find if I have to design within a collection, it doesn't give me the contrast because my work needs contrast.
Right.
You know, to make things stand out and yeah.
So on the pineapple, you said that is both reverse applique and regular applique.
Yes, yes. So the yellow is the background fabric. The berry is the top fabric. Then the orange is appliqued on top of the berry. And then up in the leaves, I did something even different. The light green, I did what I call undercoloring. So before I put the berry top fabric on top of the yellow, I inserted that light green fabric in between the yellow and the berry. So I'm trying to find my step outs here. So here's my yellow background. Here's my berry top all cut out. This is a machine step out, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So here's my green leaves fused on. And then I come in with my berry top fabric and fuse it on top of the yellow with that green in between my layers. So it is still technically, I'm reverse appliquing my berry top onto the yellow and the green, but that green is what I call undercoloring.
Okay. That's an interesting technique. I've never seen
Yeah.
that before. I'm sure that's unique to your creative eye.
Yes, I kind of came up with that. I'm sure other people have done it, but I came up with the term, and some people look at me and go, what's undercoloring? And then I came in and I appliqued the orange on top. And then I also appliqued the dark green leaves on top.
Okay. That's really cool to see how it all came together.
Yeah.
It's not, especially
So,
if you're not an appliquer, it's fun to see how it builds up. And it must be kind of exciting, especially for the reverse applique to slice open the fabric and it's almost like opening a present and the color comes through.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And particularly you see that more when you're actually doing it by hand.
Oh,
Because you're literally like slicing it open and like stitching it down, and you get a different depth and dimension. And Carla's is all quilted. So you then, traditionally then when I'm quilting, I would quilt in the yellow negative space and quilt inside, because remember this light green is also reverse appliqué down. So I would quilt inside this green. I don't know whether you still have that single square I sent you.
I do.
Maybe
but
I never sent you that because we then didn't have that show because COVID-19 hit.
Yeah, I saw pictures, but I don't think
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think that changed, and I don't have a single square that's quilted anymore. I sent that to Carla Piper. Anyways, I would quilt in the negative space here and in the negative space here, and then I would quilt around the applique, but I wouldn't come too close to what I've reverse appliqued because I don't want to flatten the piece. All right, because you've gone to all that work to stitch in your dimension, so you don't want to now flatten it with your quilting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it means if you're taking it to a long arm, or if you're hiring out your quilting, you need to really kind of explain that to them. I have 2 blogs on my website. I'm trying to think what section they're in. It's probably in my tutorial section. But it's about quilting reverse applique or quilting reverse applique with applique. So, and I've got some examples, lots of pictures on them because a picture is worth 1,000 words. But I've gone to some long armors that don't understand it and some long armors that do. Because when I get to a bigger quilt, I have to send them out too. And if you quilt it wrong, it just pops it the way it's as if it's applique. So if you've gone to all that work to stitch it like it's reverse applique, you want to accent it.
You don't want to quilt over the top of it because,
No.
like you said, you spent all that time cutting and placing and
you don't want them to do a pantograph. Don't do a pantograph. So, but it means it's a custom job.
Yeah.
So every time you go in and out of those negative reverse applique spaces, it's a start and stop. So it's a lot of tying off. So,
and that's why they end up being like heirloom pieces. Like you know that this quilt is, if you give it to somebody, they're going to hang on to it, pass it on to the next generation because it just has that feeling that it's heirloom.
Thanks. It was so good to see you, Carla.
Good to see you too. Thanks,
You
Margaret.
take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wasn't that interesting? You guys can hear me, right? I turned my microphone on? Yes, I think so. So that was Margaret and her passion for appliqué and for cherrywood. And she did a really good job describing this hospitality quilt, which I have right here. And I'll just open it up live for you. It is 50 inches square. So it's just perfect to fill up a nice wall. As people come into your home, you can welcome them with your hospitality. And as you can see, there's paper piecing to be learned. There is all different kinds of applique to be learned. If you've been a little nervous about trying reverse applique, this pattern will be very helpful to you. It spells everything out really nice. And again, here is that gorgeous collection of fabrics that is on sale tonight. This kit is normally $170 for the hand-dyed cherrywood, and tonight is 20% off, so it is only $136, and it's several yards of fabric. We only have 5 fabric kits in stock, and we take care of the fabric. We are sending you to Margaret's website to get her pattern. So that is, she's Eye of the Beholder, so her website is eobquiltdesign.com. And the pattern is $21.75 on Margaret's website. Go to her for the pattern, go to us for the kit, and you'll find this kit. The price has already changed on our website, and it's on the live tab on our website. So anything that I talk about tonight is on our live tab, the prices that we discussed. So hospitality, there's a nice close-up of all the satin stitching that she went around all of her little houses. You know, this is a labor of love. This is not something that you're going to whip up real fast, but once you get going on that satin stitching and get a rhythm going, it goes faster than you think. I have some, you know, there's different ways to finish off applique. There's fusible applique, hand applique, machine, all sorts of different kinds, and I can't cover them all here tonight because I'm not an expert on applique, but we do have another one of her patterns. We were showing some pictures during the interview, and that's the thistle quilt. And the thistle pattern is actually just one block of her design. So Lorraine can turn on these thistle pictures. There you go. And what we did is we took that block and we put it together with 3 in a table runner. And we just used an 8-step gradation, and we used thistle because that was pretty, worked pretty nicely. And we used all 8 colors, but we just switched it around. So it's very subtle. Another photo that we have here, it shows the very, this is the reverse applique machine applique. And then we have one more photo of the block itself. So very subtle color difference between the taupey gray and the periwinkle blue, but that's what makes it so sophisticated looking. So again, you can use whatever colors you want, but the sample that we're showing here is from our thistle collection. 8 colors dyed from a very, just hard to describe, very bluish periwinkle to a nice purpley blue. So that the pattern is $16, and that is on our website. I believe that's on the live tab as well. If not, it's in our patterns. And the directions to put the block together as shown, our table runner ended up being 18 by 46, and the pattern is $16. Another hand applique project that we have that is a stunner is the one that we had Jane Sassaman design for us, Zinnia. And it could be a quilt, it could be a table runner. It is gorgeous. This is 20% off tonight as well. And this kit does include the pattern. Regular price is, the pattern is normally $20. So if you just want the pattern, tonight is $16. And the kit itself is regularly $172. And tonight it's on sale for $138. And that is fabric for the entire top and binding. And some of these colors are rare colors that were designed specifically for this kit. And I believe we only have 6 kits left in stock right now. So get it before they're sold out at the 20% off price. This is called Zinnia and it's by Jane Sassaman. I do need to announce before we start our other video about, and I have a couple of things. So again, September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. So tonight our teal medley 4-step gradation and our teal yardage is 20% off. I am holding a 2-yard piece of teal green. You can get it in a minimum of, actually you can get a half-yard piece minimum. And if you need more than 2 yards, we're going to give you 2 pieces from the same dye lot. So a 2-yard and a 1-yard piece, or 6 yards, or whatever you need. But we dye in 2-yard increments. It just works out best in the special process that we do. We're dyeing in washing machines, so we can only stuff the machine so full. Otherwise, we will get a tie-dye kind of striping look. And we are just looking for this beautiful, subtle teal green, by the way, has always turns out to be the most beautiful suede texture. Different dyes kind of react differently. The darker the dye, the more suede texture modeling you're going to see. So this is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. And everybody who purchases tonight until Sunday, every $50 that you spend, we're going to throw in a free teal fat quarter in honor of Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. So if you spend $100, you get 2 teal fat quarters. $150, you get 3, and so on. So spend, spend, spend. And you can maybe get involved in the quilt auction that we're going to be talking about. One quick note before I forget, I have chosen dates for our next play day. The next quilt we are going to be working on in our little Let's Get Together and Sew is my new chill pattern. And that is going to be November 1st. And that'll be from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock Central Time here in Minnesota. We're going to be sewing at my home studio. And we have spots available. Obviously, I just announced right now when it is. So we have plenty of spots available. And it's $100. And you get the entire kit for the front and binding of the quilt. And it's fusible applique. And we've thrown some white in there for the snow. And we've got some greens for the trees. And then we have these great 3 shades to make this buffalo check. We'll be piecing the background and appliquing the trees on top. This is a brand new pattern, so you are welcome to be a pattern tester for me. It'll be a lot of fun. It's always an honor to be the first to try out a pattern, and I will take your feedback graciously. So sign up on our website. Again, that's $100. Chill, and you, we're also going to throw in some Misty Fuse, which is a fusible web. And Misty Fuse is actually a sponsor of the Cherrywood Challenge. So that'll come in the kit. I will explain how to use it and give you lots of options and methods on how to play with Misty Fuse. And then you'll also get to meet some new friends. So that'll be a lot of fun. That's November 1st. And then the next play day, I forgot to grab the quilt, but it's on our website. It's going to be the leaded glass pattern. And that is also one of my newer patterns. That will be January 3rd, 2021. So after the weekend, you recover from your New Year's Eve party, Sunday afternoon, you should be recovered, and we will all sit down and sew, and we will make the leaded glass pattern. And you will be able to choose from, what do I have here, like eight or nine color variations in your kit. So you sign up for the class, we send you the kit and the pattern, and then we get ready to go and we all sew together. And that one is going to be, well, that's also from 1 to 5 o'clock. That's a Sunday afternoon, January 3rd. So that brings me to our next interview I had with Lisa Smith. She is, it was a nice lead in from what Margaret talked about, the Ovarian Cancer Quilt Project. And I thought, well, I better talk to Lisa because the quilts were just sent to MD Anderson last month, and I was starting to see some on Facebook. So she sent me photos of all of them. So this will be the first time, besides them showing on the MD Anderson website, that people have seen these. So please enjoy.
I work for the Gynecologic Oncology and Reproductive Medicine department, which we handle all female cancers. However, it's quite unique because I'm actually a department within a department. So I sit inside of the gynecologic oncology department, and I work with all of the faculty members, the researchers, and interact with the employees as well. I'm an employee in that department, but still I run my own department. And my department falls up under the Blanton Davis Ovarian Cancer Research Program. So everything that I do is strictly ovarian cancer research driven. My role, I'm a program coordinator. I wear the hats of a program coordinator / manager / event planner, because my role all year long, day in, day out, is that I plan our fundraising events. The quote auction, even though we do it every other year, I still work all year long on that. One of our founders of this program, because the program came about as a result of two very fine women losing their lives to ovarian cancer, and their families, the Blanton family and the Davis family, they gave seed money to start this program. The Ovarian Cancer Quilt Project was actually established mainly to educate the public about the risk factors and the symptoms of ovarian cancer through the artistry of quilting, really. And a beautiful lady, her name, she's since passed with ovarian cancer. Catherine Ellison was her name. She decided to donate a beautiful teal ribbon quilt block and to the project. And once she did that, shortly thereafter, volunteers who were part of our ovarian cancer support group, as well as quilters in the community, they began to donate quilt blocks as well for us to make quilts. And then once those quilts were made, we began showing them at the International Quilt Festival here in Houston, of course. And that was pretty much the genesis of it. And shortly thereafter, we decided to hold our first online quilt auction, which was in 2008. And initially they were back to back. However, I'm not sure if you know, but we also have another major fundraiser that raises funds for ovarian cancer research, which is our 5K, our annual 5K. And doing both of those back to back is just a major undertaking. And so the decision was made after 2009 to do them every other year. Okay. So in 2011, we started to do it every other year. And that's just kind of how it all got started.
September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
But you started out with teal quilts mainly, right?
Yes, teal overload. Like until someone had the bright idea to say, you know what, we can incorporate other colors of quilts in this auction. And so, they kind of got away from that. But, it's just how the genesis, or a part of the genesis of the program. Everybody pretty much who either bid on a quilt or donate a quilt, they've been affected by ovarian cancer in some shape or form, be it themselves personally or a family member.
And that's how I originally got connected with MD Anderson, is at the festival, the Quilt Festival in Houston. You guys have a booth there.
Yeah.
And
the founder of Cherrywood, Dawn Hall, passed away
Right.
from ovarian cancer. And that first show, she passed away in September, so it was still very fresh when I discovered this booth. And I was just so like overcome with emotion. I don't even know if I understood what you guys are doing, but I collected some information. I just knew that we had to be involved somehow. And
Yeah.
that first year, me and some colleagues made teal quilts. And
Okay.
yeah, it's a lot of teal to have like 4 teal quilts is
Yeah.
I'm glad that you've grown and progressed. And so tell us, there is no limit to like size or color for the
No.
general public, correct?
No, not at all. We have, well, part of the criteria is that, people can donate new or used quilts, all shapes, sizes, colors. And we pretty much accept any and everything as long as it's, in good condition, it's clean. People do this for all of the right reasons. Even though their loved ones may have passed, but they know if they give, it's contributing to research, because that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we love it. We love reading the stories. We love connecting with the people. I love meeting them face to face at festival. And I'm so bummed that we won't be able to do that this year, but I totally understand it.
Right. So the plan is the quilts that you are collecting now, and you collect for a year, is that correct?
At least a year out, yeah.
And they will be shown at Quilt Festival in Houston of 2021, and then auctioned off.
Right, in the fall of 2021. So being that everything is different this year, it's a little tricky. So we're going to figure out a plan, because technically this is the off season. So that's how the Cherrywood Challenge came about, in the off season, because we always wanted to have something to show at festival. So
Right.
in the off season, we do the Cherrywood Challenge, and then we display in 2 places. As we mentioned earlier, September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. So we hold a 3-day quilt display on our campus, and for the patients and for the family members and the employees. And so we would have done that this year with the Cherrywoods, because all of the Cherrywoods are due at the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we get them labeled, we get them processed in our system, and then we have a whole team that works with us at our institution. They set up big display boards, and so we show them to the patients, employees, and their family members. The social media pages and everything that we do with this program is really for the people,
Mm-hmm.
Raising their awareness and letting them know that they have support, and they can get the answers that they have questions about, with going to our pages or emailing our community relations inbox. We just want them to know that we're here for them.
Mm-hmm. Now, how is Vanetta Morger? Is she still involved, and how is she connected?
She is just a gem. She is pretty much the ambassador for the Cherrywood Challenge. Vanetta is a very accomplished and published quilt artist in her own right, and she's very connected in the quilting world. And so we gave her the task years ago, when we first partnered with you all, to find the artist. And she has not disappointed. And every single lady that she selected, they have not disappointed. And I just wait with anticipation every time those bundles come and we send them out, and when the quotes come back to us, because, they're always so beautiful.
They are.
We really stand in awe of the work that these quilt artists do for us. And everybody love them. And the way we promote them on our site as a collection when the auction opens. So they're always at the top. Okay. And people love those Cherrywood quilts. And even though they're small in size, because they're all 24 by 24, they on average, because we bring in a professional appraisers, and on average they appraise for about $250, but some of those Cherrywood quilts, they go for probably about $500, and that's kind of average, depending on who the artist is and the story behind it and the uniqueness of it. We've had some Cherrywoods go for as high as $750.
Wow, that's amazing for just
Yeah,
24-inch square quilt.
absolutely, it is, and people love them. And they share with us or send us pictures once the winning bidder get them, what they're going to do with them, or they'll send pictures of them in frames, or these people are really committed to our auction, and we're eternally grateful for that, because again, it's all about the research.
Yeah. Yeah. And over the years, it's kind of changed, because I think the first year we sent all teal fabric, everybody had the same fabric. And then now I'm sending a bundle. So it's 8-step
Right.
gradation, I think 24 or 25. Is it 24?
It's 25.
25.
Yeah.
And I think one year I sent maybe 2 different colorways. I can't even remember what I sent this year, but it's so cool to see them all together because they're all using the same colors.
Yeah, but
Interpretation is
so many, exactly. I'm so in awe of that. I mean, as you can see, the ones behind me, those quilts were made from the very same bundles, but here you have 2 very uniquely different quilts, and I just love that. I really do, because you just see so much. You see the individual's creativity, you see their level of expertise and their level of commitment. I mean, it's just amazing. They're making a difference, in which they really are. It's not a facade or a falsehood. They really are making a difference, because every quilt is a donation toward research.
Do you have the figures of how much you made in the last auction?
Yeah, that's funny you asked that question, because last year, 2019 was my first quilt ever on my own, and I was so happy that we raised the most out of all of the auctions. It was over $54,000 we raised just through our auction, which is held for 2 weeks, and it opens at noon on the first day and it closes at noon on the last day. And when I tell you, the anticipation and the adrenaline is so high, because I'm literally behind closed doors in my office, maybe with 1 or 2 people. I think Vanetta joined me last year. And we just, those last few minutes in the auction, seeing how those numbers were turning, it was crazy. And one quilt, as a matter of fact, the peacock quilt that's behind me, that artist, she wasn't a part of the Cherrywood Challenge last year. However, she made a beautiful peacock quilt. It was huge. And that one quilt went for $2,500.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I screamed when I saw the numbers turn. I was like, oh my God. And so of course I was like, this is amazing. And the bidder who actually bid that amount on the quilt, she ended up spending over $7,000. She won about 8 quilts.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, it was just beyond words. And so I was just so happy to report to my directors and my manager how well the auction did. The most ever. For the last several auctions, we raised right at about 50,000 or a little over 50,000. But to come in last year with that amount, it was just fascinating to witness. I was very proud.
Yeah, well, it's just such a great thing, and that fabric and hands and thread and our hearts can create something. And so personal, and the people on the other end that are bidding appreciate that, they understand, and for it all the money to go back into a woman's, I mean, I'm sure you have male artists too, but quilting is generally a woman's art form, so how appropriate to help eradicate these awful female cancers that hopefully someday we will never have to think about.
Absolutely. And our researchers right now are working, obviously they want to find a cure, but I think for this particular cancer, the goal right now is to come up with testing, because unfortunately with this disease, and it's not as silent as it used to be due to so many new therapies and developments. However, there's still no testing. And because of that, when a woman is diagnosed with ovarian cancer, it's usually in a stage 3 phase, which is not good.
Right.
And so we'll be very proud if we can come up with a screening so that women can, get screened to determine whether or not they have ovarian cancer, because that cannot be determined through not a pap smear or nothing else. And that's the real tricky part. But with the new developments in research, we've come so far, but we still have quite a bit of a ways to go as well.
Well, we appreciate you and MD Anderson and all you guys are doing, and I'm just so proud and honored to be able to be a part of this quilt auction. And
listen, we appreciate you and Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics, because what you all do for us, it makes quite a bit of a difference. And people never even heard of Cherrywood. They've come to know about the fabric that you offer and the backstory, because we often share, as a matter of fact, when we display the Cherrywoods at and you may have seen this even at our booth, but we have a whole write-up, of the company, and how the owner lost her battle with ovarian cancer. And so I'm grateful for the partnership. It's very unique, and we consider you all as ovarian cancer fighters right along with us. So,
well, we are. I appreciate that. And is there anything else that you wanted to add to the whole story?
The next auction will take place in the fall of 2021 from October 20th through November 3rd. And all of the quilts will be on our website at ovarianquilt.com.
Well, you are doing an awesome job. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon. In the midst of
you're welcome. I'm honored to be a part. I really am.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Carla. Bye.
Take care. And thank you to everybody out there watching. And I hope you enjoyed all the learning, some new experiences and some new things to check out, different websites to check out, and hopefully some inspiration for what you can do with your pile of Cherrywood. And it's been a lot of fun tonight. And join me again next Thursday right here on Facebook, 7 o'clock Central. And we will be talking about fusing and the wonderful world of Misty Fuse. And join me then. And in the meantime, go shopping at cherrywoodfabrics.com and check out these deals that we have, 20% off kits until Sunday night. Good night.